Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something most of us try to avoid: failure. We're often told to chase success, to aim high, and to win at all costs. But what we aren't told enough is that failure isn't the end of the road, it's the beginning of real learning. The truth is, every person who has ever achieved greatness has stumbled, fallen, and faced defeat. Yet, it was those very moments that shaped their success stories. Failure, though often feared and avoided, is one of the most powerful teachers life can offer. When you fail, you are confronted with reality, the truth about your preparation, effort, mindset, and choices. Success can sometimes blind us, making us believe we have all the answers, but failure humbles us. It forces us to slow down and reflect deeply on our actions, decisions, and approaches. Unlike success, which tends to validate our comfort zones, failure pushes us out of them, urging us to confront our weaknesses and blind spots. It becomes the mirror that reflects our authentic selves, showing us not just what we did wrong, but also what we are capable of improving. Every experience of failure carries hidden lessons waiting to be discovered. When you look closely, failure reveals the patterns, mistakes, and habits that lead to underperformance. It teaches patience, persistence, and adaptability, qualities are essential for any kind of long-term achievement. Through failure, you learn that growth isn't a straight line. It's a process filled with trials, adjustments, and continuous learning. The discomfort of failure cultivates awareness and wisdom, transforming pain into knowledge. Each failure can be seen as a classroom, and every setback as a valuable lesson that brings you closer to understanding how to succeed the next time. Moreover, failure teaches emotional strength, the ability to endure disappointment and rise stronger. It exposes your vulnerabilities but also builds your resilience. When you fail, you experience frustration, doubt, and even fear. Yet it's in those moments that your true potential begins to emerge. Failure trains you to manage emotions, handle criticism, and remain focused despite obstacles. It's through these challenges that your mental and emotional toughness grow. The lessons learned through failure are often more lasting and meaningful than those gained through easy success, because they are earned through struggle, effort, and reflection. Failure also inspires humility and empathy. Once you've faced failure, you understand that everyone is fighting their own battles, and success is never as simple as it looks. You begin to value effort over results and progress over perfection. You start to appreciate the process rather than just the outcome. That shift in mindset makes you more understanding of others and more patient with yourself. Failure teaches you to respect the journey and embrace imperfection as a natural part of growth. When you begin to see failure not as a punishment but as a guide, it becomes your greatest teacher, one that leads you toward lasting wisdom and strength. Learning from mistakes is the cornerstone of personal and professional development. Every time we make a mistake, we are given an opportunity to uncover new insights about ourselves, our strategies, and our surroundings. Mistakes illuminate the areas where we lack understanding or preparation, allowing us to identify what needs to be changed or improved. Instead of treating mistakes as setbacks, viewing them as valuable feedback transforms them into stepping stones toward success. Growth comes from the courage to analyze what went wrong and the willingness to make adjustments. By reflecting on mistakes, we not only correct our paths, but also build the wisdom to make better choices in the future. Mistakes have a unique way of deepening our learning process because they challenge us to think critically and creatively. When we fail at something, we are pushed to find alternative solutions, think outside the box, and develop innovative approaches. This process sharpens our problem-solving skills and nurtures our adaptability. It teaches us that no single method guarantees success, and that flexibility is essential in the face of changing circumstances. Each time we learn from a mistake, we add another layer of experience that makes us more capable and confident. Over time, This consistent learning transforms ordinary individuals into experts, not because they avoided mistakes, but because they embraced them as part of their learning journey. Furthermore, learning from mistakes fosters self-awareness, one of the most powerful forms of growth. When we take responsibility for our errors instead of blaming others or circumstances, we begin to understand our strengths, weaknesses, and behavioral patterns more deeply. This awareness enables us to make conscious efforts to improve both mentally and emotionally. We learn to be patient with ourselves, to accept imperfection, and to recognize that progress is gradual. Through this process, mistakes become mirrors, reflecting our character and values. They teach us accountability and integrity, reminding us that true growth begins with honesty about where we stand and what we need to work on. In addition, embracing mistakes cultivates perseverance and confidence. Every time you recover from an error, your belief in your ability to overcome obstacles grows stronger. You begin to trust the process, knowing that setbacks are temporary and manageable. Instead of being paralyzed by fear of failure, you start to take calculated risks, understanding that even if things go wrong, you will learn something valuable. This mindset shift from fearing mistakes to learning from them is what fuels continuous growth. It creates individuals who are resilient, innovative, and unafraid to evolve. In this way, mistakes stop being signs of weakness and instead become powerful tools for building strength, wisdom, and long-term success. Resilience is not something we are born with. It is forged through struggle, disappointment, and perseverance. Failure plays a crucial role in developing this inner strength because it tests our limits and challenges our ability to recover. When everything goes according to plan, we really learn how strong we truly are. But when plans fall apart and we are forced to rebuild from the ground up, resilience begins to take shape. It is through failure that we learn how to adapt, endure, and rise again after falling. Each setback becomes a lesson in courage and patience, teaching us that giving up is easy, but standing back up is what defines true strength. Failure, in this sense, is not just a trial, it is the training ground where resilience is born. Every time we face failure, we are given a choice to let it break us or to let it build us. Resilient individuals choose the latter. They use failure as motivation to work harder, smarter, and with greater purpose. This doesn't mean they don't feel pain or disappointment. Rather, it means they learn to channel those emotions into determination. Resilience teaches us that life is unpredictable and that setbacks are not permanent. The ability to stay focused and persistent in the face of obstacles is what separates those who stagnate from those who grow. Over time, the pain of failure transforms into wisdom, and the scars left behind become reminders of strength, not weakness. Furthermore, resilience allows us to maintain hope even when everything seems uncertain. It helps us see beyond the immediate failure and believe in the possibility of a better outcome. People who develop resilience understand that failure is not a final verdict, but a temporary phase in a longer journey. This mindset enables them to keep moving forward even when results aren't visible. Instead of losing faith in themselves or their dreams, they use failure as proof that progress is happening, even if it's slow. Resilience gives us the emotional stability to face rejection, loss, or disappointment without losing our sense of purpose. It keeps us anchored when everything else feels like it's falling apart. Lastly, resilience built through failure creates a foundation of confidence that can withstand future challenges. Once you have overcome failure and rebuilt yourself, future obstacles seem less intimidating. You begin to trust your ability to handle difficulties and bounce back, no matter how tough the situation becomes. This self-assurance fuels further growth as you are no longer afraid to take risks or try new things. Resilient people don't avoid failure. They face it head-on because they know every experience adds to their strength. Through this process, failure transforms from something painful into something empowering, shaping individuals who are unshakable, determined, and ready to take on whatever life throws at them. Failure has a unique way of uncovering who we really are beneath our confidence, ambition, and appearances. When things go wrong, when plans collapse, and when the outcome is not what we hoped for, we are stripped of pretense and faced with our most authentic selves. In those difficult moments, our reactions reveal the depth of our character, our patience, humility, and strength. Success often masks flaws as it keeps us in our comfort zone, surrounded by praise and approval. But failure removes that shield and exposes how we handle adversity. Do we blame others, make excuses, or take responsibility? Do we crumble under pressure or find the courage to rise again? The answers to these questions define our true nature more than any victory ever could. When failure strikes, it tests our values and principles. It forces us to confront questions like, what do I really believe in? How much do I care about this goal? Am I willing to try again even after falling short? The way we respond to these questions determines the strength of our moral compass. Failure challenges our integrity by asking us to choose between the easy way out, giving up, blaming circumstances, or the harder but more honorable path of learning and persevering. Those who stand firm in their beliefs during tough times often discover a deeper sense of self-awareness and conviction. It is through failure that we learn the importance of staying true to ourselves, even when life refuses to go according to plan. Moreover, failure teaches humility. It reminds us that no matter how skilled, talented, or intelligent we are still human, capable of making mistakes. This realization grounds us, stripping away arrogance and fostering empathy for others who struggle. When we experience failure firsthand, we become more understanding of other people's challenges. We start valuing effort over perfection and begin to appreciate the process of growth. This humility not only strengthens relationships, but also makes us better leaders, learners, and teammates. Failure in this sense becomes a teacher of compassion, one that connects us to others through shared experiences of struggle and resilience. Finally, failure builds emotional maturity by teaching us to manage disappointment with grace. It helps us control frustration, deal with criticism, and keep moving forward, even when our confidence is shaken. Those who endure failure learn to balance emotion with logic, hope with realism. They stop seeking validation from others and instead focus on self-improvement and personal growth. This emotional stability becomes a powerful part of one's character, allowing them to navigate future challenges with wisdom and calmness. Failure, though painful, molds the raw parts of our personality into strength, patience, and integrity, qualities that define who we truly are. When success is out of sight, when we look at successful people, we often see only their achievements, the awards, recognition, and glory that come with accomplishment. What we rarely see are the countless failures that paved their way. Every successful person has a history filled with mistakes, rejections, and disappointments. They are not defined by their failures, but by how they responded to them. The difference between ordinary individuals and extraordinary achievers lies in their attitude toward failure. Successful people understand that failure is not a signal to quit, but an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. They see every setback as a necessary step in the process of mastery. The path to success is never straight, and those who succeed the most are often the ones who have failed the most, but refuse to stay down. Take the stories of some of the greatest minds in history. Thomas Edison faced thousands of failed experiments before inventing the light bulb. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination, and J.K. Rowling's first book was rejected by numerous publishers. Yet, they all shared one thing in common: persistence. They used failure as fuel to keep pushing forward, learning from every mistake and setback. These examples remind us that failure is not proof of inadequacy but evidence of effort. Every attempt, whether successful or not, brings valuable experience and insight. Successful people don't let failure discourage them. Instead, they view it as a natural and essential part of the journey toward greatness. Moreover, successful individuals cultivate a mindset that welcomes failure instead of fearing it. They understand that avoiding failure often means avoiding growth. By stepping into the unknown, they take risks and expose themselves to potential losses, but in doing so, they also open the door to innovation and discovery. This fearless approach allows them to learn faster, make adjustments, and ultimately achieve their goals. Their resilience is not built from comfort, but from challenge. Each failure toughens them, sharpens their focus, and strengthens their determination to succeed. They treat every obstacle as a lesson and every fall as a chance to rise stronger, more informed, and more capable than before. Additionally, successful people recognize that failure brings perspective. It keeps them grounded and humble, reminding them that success is not permanent and must be continuously earned. They understand that the lessons learned from failure are often what prepare them for long-term success. Failure teaches patience, discipline, and emotional control, traits that are crucial when facing future challenges. It also builds gratitude, as they learn to appreciate the moments of victory more deeply after enduring struggle. This perspective helps them maintain balance, ensuring that success does not lead to arrogance, but to wisdom. Failure should never be seen as the end of the journey, but rather as an essential form of feedback that guides us toward improvement. When something doesn't go as planned, it's not a signal to stop, but a message telling us that our approach needs adjustment. Failure provides valuable information about what works and what doesn't, allowing us to refine our methods and strategies. It acts as a mirror, reflecting the gaps in our preparation, knowledge, or timing. Instead of interpreting failure as defeat, successful individuals use it as constructive criticism from life itself. They analyze what went wrong, make necessary changes, and return stronger. This mindset, treating failure as feedback, transforms disappointment into direction, confusion into clarity, and loss into learning. When we adopt this perspective, we begin to view setbacks as opportunities rather than obstacles. Every failed attempt reveals a new piece of the puzzle, helping us get closer to success. For example, an entrepreneur whose first business fails might discover valuable lessons about leadership, market research, or financial planning. These insights, gained only through failure, often become the very tools that ensure future victories. Failure teaches flexibility, showing us that success rarely comes from the first try. It encourages experimentation, innovation, and creativity, qualities that thrive in those who see mistakes as stepping stones. When we learn to reinterpret failure as feedback, we cultivate the resilience and adaptability needed to continue progressing even in the face of repeated disappointments. Moreover, treating failure as feedback helps eliminate the fear of trying. Many people never pursue their dreams because they are afraid of failing. But when you realize that failure is just another form of information, not a reflection of your worth, you become free to take risks and grow. You start to understand that each attempt, successful or not, adds value to your journey. This freedom from fear unleashes your true potential because you no longer measure yourself by immediate results but by progress and learning. Failure stops being a threat and becomes a trusted teacher, guiding you toward a better understanding of your path. It reminds you that every misstep is simply a correction on the way to your goals, not a reason to stop walking altogether. Lastly, viewing failure as feedback strengthens perseverance and emotional intelligence. It teaches patience and self-awareness, the ability to remain calm and reflective instead of reacting with frustration or self-doubt. When you take failure as a lesson rather than a loss, you develop a growth mindset, one that focuses on effort, consistency, and long-term improvement. You learn to ask better questions, seek better solutions, and grow wiser with each challenge. This emotional maturity allows you to stay committed even when progress feels slow or invisible. In this way, failure becomes not a dead end, but a compass pointing toward growth, resilience, and eventual success. reminding us that every fall carries the seed of future triumph. Embracing failure as part of success means understanding that every achievement is built on a foundation of trials, mistakes, and perseverance. No great accomplishment has ever been reached without facing moments of uncertainty and defeat. Failure is woven into the very fabric of success, acting as the teacher that prepares us for greater challenges ahead. When you accept failure as a natural step in the process rather than something to be ashamed of, your perspective changes completely. You stop fearing it and start learning from it. Every time you fail, you gain insight, strength, and experience that bring you closer to your goals. By embracing failure, you create a mindset that focuses not on perfection but on growth and persistence, the two true pillars of lasting success. When people reject failure, they often limit their own potential. The fear of making mistakes prevents them from taking risks, exploring new ideas, or stepping outside their comfort zones. Yet, the path to greatness always involves uncertainty. Those who embrace failure understand that progress is not linear. It's a series of steps forward, backward, and sideways. Each misstep teaches a vital lesson that success alone cannot offer. By learning to see failure as part of the process, you begin to value effort over results and persistence over immediate achievement. This mindset helps you remain motivated and determined, even when outcomes aren't as expected. You come to realize that failure doesn't take you away from success, it moves you closer to it, one lesson at a time. Moreover, embracing failure fosters creativity and innovation. When you are not afraid to fail, you become willing to experiment, to take bold actions, and to try unconventional approaches. Some of the world's greatest discoveries and inventions were born out of repeated failures. Think of how many times inventors, artists, or entrepreneurs had to fail before creating something extraordinary. Each failure opened a new path of thought, a new perspective, or a new technique. When failure is embraced, it becomes a powerful force that fuels imagination and discovery. Instead of stopping progress, it propels it forward by encouraging people to think differently and take calculated risks. In this way, failure becomes not a barrier to innovation, but its greatest catalyst. Embracing failure also builds emotional strength and mental endurance. It teaches patience, humility, and acceptance. The understanding that not everything will go as planned and that this is perfectly normal. When you accept that setbacks are part of the journey, you stop internalizing them as personal flaws. You begin to see them as shared human experiences that everyone encounters. This awareness builds resilience and self-compassion, allowing you to handle challenges with a calm and focused mind. You no longer crumble when things go wrong because you know failure is temporary and essential for growth. It's in these moments that your true potential shines through. When you face failure head-on, learn from it and keep moving forward with faith in your ability to rise stronger than before. In the end, failure is not something to be feared or avoided. It is something to be understood, accepted, and embraced. Every fall you experience, every mistake you make, and every setback you face carries within it a valuable lesson that shapes who you are meant to become. Success is not defined by never failing. It is defined by the courage to keep going despite failure. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and innovators in history did not rise because they never stumbled. They rose because they refused to stay down. When you begin to see failure as your greatest teacher, life takes on a new meaning. Each obstacle becomes an opportunity. Each mistake becomes a message. And each challenge becomes a stepping stone toward growth. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of failure and start recognizing yourself as a student of experience. That is where real transformation begins, in the ability to learn, adapt, and rise again with wisdom gained from the past. So the next time you fail, remember that it is not the end of your story. It is merely a chapter, one that builds your strength, resilience, and understanding. Every failure moves you closer to your purpose, preparing you for the success that lies ahead. Stand tall, embrace the lessons, and keep moving forward, because in the journey of life, it is not perfection that defines you, it is persistence and the willingness to grow through every fall that truly makes you unstoppable.